In this lesson, we'll learn how using smart guides can make aligning objects in Illustrator a snap. Alright, so if you've been working in Illustrator long, then you probably are familiar with exactly how challenging it can be to line one shape up in exactly the position you want it to be next to another shape, or more than one shape. Sometimes that shape will be just a couple points off, or maybe it's actually creating just a little bit of a gap between the shapes. And if that's not intentional, then those can be rather annoying and frustrating when it comes to finishing out your artwork, especially when it deals for a print job, something like that. So one of the features that Adobe has built into Illustrator to help you align objects and draw objects are smart guides. Now, in order to turn those on, you can come up to View and choose Smart Guides right here. Now, the keyboard shortcut for that is Control U, and I would highly recommend learning that keyboard shortcut. It's very useful to be able to go in and turn off your smart guides very quickly using that keyboard shortcut. So with the smart guides turned on, you can see here that as I mouse over my objects, a number of things are happening here. We're getting outlines around some of the objects. We're getting a little gray window with some coordinates popping up, and we're also getting some little green words that are popping up in places, saying things like anchor and path and center. And so there's a whole lot going on here. And maybe for your purposes you don't need all this information, but the great thing about smart guides is they're highly customizable based on your personal needs as a designer. So let's go ahead and zoom in here and just take a look at these few objects I have in front of us. This is quite simply one of the placeholders that I built for my gallery images because we don't have the photographs yet for that gallery. So let's go ahead and just grab some of these objects. Now this is a very simple object here. It's a text frame on top of a rectangle here. Maybe I want to just draw a marquee around those two objects, and let's just drag this over. Now you can see as I start to move this object, we're getting again a number of different things that are going on. We're getting several little green lines that appear, and again we've got a little gray box with some coordinates on it. Now I'm going to go ahead and just use this to snap into position on top of this X here. So, and you can see here that as I get close to that center, we get a little bit of a snap. Not to mention the little word intersect flashes up for us. Now maybe kind of hard to read because the smart guide color is currently set to green, but we can use those smart guides to line those two objects up on top of this X here, right on the center of that object. So just the same way I did that, I'm going to go ahead and select all three of those objects, and let's go ahead and drag these over to the center of our gray rectangle here. Now you can see that if I mouse over that center, we get the word center and the exact coordinates according to the X and the Y axes on our document here. So I'm just going to come in here now and let's just drag that over. Now I'm not holding shift to constrain anything at all. I'm just moving this around and I'm trying to snap that right into the center of that rectangle. And there it is. Let's just deselect that. Alright, now I mentioned before that there's a whole lot going on my screen here, and maybe you think for your own purposes that maybe not all of these features in smart guides, not all of these little these screen tips that are coming up on our screen would be useful to you. So let me go ahead and just show you how we can go in and maybe turn off some of the ones that we don't actually need for our own projects. So let's just come up to Edit and let's choose Preferences here, and we're going to come down here to Smart Guides. Now you can use the hotkey combination at Control-K to quick access your preferences, but notice here there are a lot of different options here for smart guides. These options will let you customize smart guides exactly the way you want them to be customized. So let's go through a few of these options here and just sort of explore what these do. Now the first thing you're going to notice here is the color. Now again, we have our color set to green, and you can see that just by all those little green lines and words that were popping up. So I know that's probably kind of hard for you to read, so let me go ahead and change that to something that's a little more visible. I'm just going to change that to black for right now here, and that way all of our little smart guides are going to come up in black and you'll be able to see those nice and clear. Alright, so the first checkbox we have here is for alignment guides. Now, what alignment guides do is it allows you to, as you're moving an object around your artboard or your scratch area, it allows you to be able to align that object to other objects around it, or even guides, or even the edge of the artboard for that matter. So alignment guides are going to be created allowing you to snap objects to other objects or areas on your artboard or on your scratch area. So I like to typically keep that option checked. Now, moving to the right here, we have anchor and path labels. Now, that's actually what's giving us the little green words that were popping up, like path, or like anchor point, or center. We've got that turned on, and I actually find that one pretty helpful too, to tell exactly when I'm on an anchor point, especially if I'm working with complex artwork and there's a lot of anchor points in one area. I like to know exactly when I'm mousing over an anchor point that maybe I'm intending to modify. So, moving over here to the left, we have object highlighting. Now, I'm not sure if you remember, but as I was mousing over different objects, you would see a little green outline that would appear around those objects. And the object highlighting is what controls that. Now, again, moving to the right, we have measurement labels. Measurement labels is that little gray box with the rounded corners you were seeing come up with the X and the Y coordinates. There's other information that's actually displayed in that measurement box as well. And to be honest, in my own workflow, I think that's probably one of the most annoying features of smart guides. And if I was to disable anything, it would probably be that one, just because that sometimes can cover up a critical piece of your artwork that you're maybe trying to work around. And you know, it's useful sometimes, but I think that sometimes I just like to turn that feature off. So, and moving down here, we have transform controls next, and these are controls that help you when you're using transform modifiers on a shape. Maybe it's a scale option or a rotate option, or even the shear tool. So any kind of transform effect that you're applying to a shape, the transform tools checkbox here is going to give you little tooltips as you're doing that. So the next one we have down here is construction guides, and let me go ahead and turn that one on. Now, construction guides can be configured here exactly to your own liking. Now, right now we have it set at 90 and 45 degree angles. You can actually enter in up to 6 custom angles here of your own choosing, and you're going to get a little preview over here to the right of what those angles look like. So right now, again, we're just dealing with 90 and 45 degree angles, so we're getting a little preview here of only 90 degree angles and the 45 degree angles. The last option you see here is the snapping tolerance. Now, this is pretty important because this is how close objects have to be to other objects in order for the smart guides to kick in. Now, the smaller this number is, the closer those objects are going to have to be together in order for the smart guides to kick on. I typically leave this at 4 points. You may find that to be kind of generous and may want to reduce that, but for my own liking, I just tend to leave that at 4 points. So let's go ahead and click OK on this. Alright, so we'll go ahead and just sort of explore some of these smart guides again now that we've walked through those options. And first thing I'm going to do is mouse over this rectangle here. Now, you'll notice here that the highlighting for this object is actually still green. Now, and if you remember, we changed the smart guide color to black. That's because the color of this highlighted object is not controlled by the smart guide colors. It's actually controlled over here by the color of the layer, the color that's assigned to the layer. So if we wanted to change that, we would need to double click on our layer and change the color here. So let's just continue to explore these smart guides again. You'll see here that, again, our little path labels and anchor labels are now black as we mouse over several of those here. So really the only thing we didn't look at examples of before was the transform tools and the construction guide. So let me go ahead and just show you a couple examples of those. I'm going to make a copy of this gray rectangle over here to the right, and let's just go ahead and grab our shear tool here. Now, if I was to go ahead and shear this rectangle here, you'll notice that as I draw that to the right, you'll see here that there's a little X with a black line coming out of it. That's going to be our transform, the transform tool option within our smart guide options. That's what that is displaying for us. So you can see here how that is working. Let's just go ahead and undo that here now. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our construction guides. Now, this is another feature I very rarely use in Illustrator, and that's why you saw that it was disabled in my smart guide options. So I'm going to come in here and grab my line segment tool, and I'm just going to start drawing a line here fairly close to this object here. And I'm going to see if I can't get my construction guides to pick up on the line that I'm drawing. These can be kind of tricky to get to pick up, so I'm going to just start my line pretty close, and there we go. There's a construction line. You can see that the angle I'm drawing at is an alignment at a 135-degree angle from the corner anchor point of our gray box there. So you can see here exactly what the construction guides look like. Now, again, the construction guides can be applied at any angle that you would like, and you can choose up to 6 different angles for those construction guides. So you can see here how using smart guides in your workflow can really be a great way of positioning objects within your artboard or your scratch area inside Illustrator. So in the next lesson, we're going to pick up where we're leaving off here, and we're going to talk a little bit about Illustrator's brush panel.